Ndị Igbo ekene m unu. Asị m ka nke echikwelu ya zelu. Anyị si ndụ mmiri ndụ azụ. Mmiri atara m azụ anwụra. Asa dịrị mma na eke, dịrị mma na orie, fọzara mma na afọ, fọzara mma na nkwọ, ụzọ ahịa anọ nke ndị Igbo ji biri. Asị na ya dịrị n'Igbo na mma o. Ise. Dịka o si dị ka agbapụ na ya ọsọ igosi na ya bụ ife anyị ji maka ya wee bịa. Na tupu anyị aga n'igosi na ya bụ ife, ọ bụla nke a bụ ụbọchị gị. Ị na-ejete afọ channel aya na Igbo akwụkwọ ka baro ka like and subscribe o. Tinyekwa kọmentị, share kwa ya, tụsa ya bụ ozi ka ụmụnne anyị dị n'ebe dị iche iche wee nụ ya bụ ife na-eme n'obodo a. Dịka o si dị, ya wetara unu tata bụ nnukwu update dị oke mkpa. Mma nchọ ka onye ọbụla m isie ya. Mma nchọ ka ị ga ya bụ ife, ị ga-esi ya bụ ife wetara unu kpasịta maka ya bụ ife na-eme n'obodo anyị nọ n'ime ya. And were ndị Igbo na-azọ drop ụra your own comment n'ihe a nwanne anyị nwoke kwuru n'iru akwụkwọ dị oke mkpa ka anyị mara ife iche n'ụdị nke gị. Alright, over to you, sir.
Finland's winter war lasted 105 days. Your war has lasted 10 times longer. We understand what you're going through. We will support you for as long as it takes. We support you because it is morally right. We support you because you're fighting for your independence. But we also support you because you're fighting for Europe's security. We support you because you're fighting for your independence. But we also support you because you're fighting for Europe's security.
And the hatred that led to the Holocaust, of which the Honourable Lady spoke. I'll give way.
I thank the Honourable Member for giving way. On International Human Rights Day, would you agree with me that the violation of the Igbo tribe's human rights needs resolution and the Biafran leader should be released, like my honourable friend for Camberwell and Beckham has recently made representation to?
The Honourable Member clearly speaks with extremely great knowledge about these issues, and I'm sure she'll be raising them with the Foreign Secretary and with the Development Secretary at the appropriate.
The Finland President, Alexander Stubb, has pledged to support the Biafra independence. He made a statement after listening to Simon Ekpa, who was recently arrested by Finnish authority on allegation of terrorism incitement. He stated that Finland has been in similar situation and succeeded, and that the Finland's winter war lasted for over 105 days, but Biafra war lasted 10 times longer. According to him, he stated that he understands what the Biafrans are going through in Nigeria and has pledged to support the Biafra independence for as long as it takes, and that Finland will support the Biafra independence because it is morally right, and that Finland will support Biafrans because they are fighting for their independence. According to the words of Finland President Alexander Stubb, which says, Finland's winter war lasted 105 days. Your war has lasted 10 times longer. We understand what you are going through. We will support you for as long as it takes. We support you because it is morally right. We support you because you are fighting for your independence, but we also support you because you are fighting for your own security, he stated. Sometimes the strongest connections are forged not by proximity, but by shared experiences. This story is about such a connection, one that bridges the gap between Finland, a small northern European nation, and Biafra, a region in Nigeria longing for independence. It is a story about a promise, empathy, and the universal desire for freedom. To understand the significance of President Alexander Stubb's pledge to support Biafra's independence, we need to look back at the history of both nations, their struggles, and the people who have championed their causes. Let me take you to Finland first. Imagine a country blanketed in snow, 8 people resilient and hardworking, carving out a life in one of the world's coldest climates. Finland's history is not one of ease. It is a tale of perseverance. For centuries, Finland was under the shadow of larger powers. It was part of Sweden for hundreds of years before becoming a Grand Duchy under Russia in 1809. The Finnish people longed for independence, for a chance to determine their destiny. That chance came in 1917 during the chaos of the Russian Revolution. Finland declared independence, but freedom didn't come without challenges. A brutal civil war erupted in 1918, and later, during World War II, Finland faced one of its greatest trials, the Winter War. The Winter War began in November 1939 when the Soviet Union invaded Finland, seeking to claim territory. On paper, Finland stood no chance. The Soviet forces were massive, with more soldiers, tanks, and firepower than Finland could ever muster. But the Finnish people had something more powerful than weapons. They had determination. For 105 days, they fought with everything they had. Soldiers wore white camouflage to blend into the snow, moving steadily through the forest. They used clever tactics like sky-mounted troops and hit-and-run attacks to outmaneuver their enemy. The world watched in awe as this small nation held its ground against a giant. Though Finland eventually signed a peace treaty and lost some territory, their resistance became a symbol of courage. The war showed the world that even the smallest nations could stand up to tyranny if their spirit remained unbroken. Now let's turn our attention to Biafra. Biafra is a region in southeastern Nigeria, home to the Igbo people among others. The Biafran struggle for independence began in the 1960s during a time of political and ethnic turmoil in Nigeria. After Nigeria gained independence from Great Britain in 1960, tensions began to rise between the country's various ethnic groups. The Igbos, who were prominent in business and politics, faced growing resentment and hostility. This tension reached a boiling point in 1966 when a series of coups and counter-coups led to violence against the Igbo people in northern Nigeria. Thousands were killed and many fled back to the southeast. In 1967, the southeast declared itself an independent state, the Republic of Biafra. But this declaration was not welcomed by the Nigerian central government, which launched a military campaign to prevent secession. What followed was one of the darkest chapters in African history. The Biafran War lasted from 1967 to 1970. Over 3 long and painful years, it was a brutal conflict marked by widespread suffering. The Nigerian military blocked Biafra, cutting off food and supplies, which caused kwashiorkor and deaths of many Biafrans, including women and children. This led to a humanitarian crisis, with famine claiming the lives of over 1 million people, many of them which are children and women. Despite the odds, the Biafrans fought with remarkable resilience. They had a clear vision, freedom, and self-determination. But the world's response was mixed. While some countries supported Biafra, many others sided with Nigeria or remained neutral, prioritizing political and economic interest over human rights. When the war ended in 1970, Biafra was reintegrated into Nigeria, but the scars of the conflict remained. The Igbo people and other groups in the southeast continued to feel marginalized, and the dream of independence never truly died. Fast forward to today, and the struggle for Biafra's independence is still alive, though it has taken new forms. One of the most prominent and controversial figures in this movement is Simon Ekpa, based in Finland. Simon Ekpa is a vocal advocate for Biafra, using social media and other platforms to rally support for the cause. But his method has drawn criticism. He has been accused of inciting violence and has faced legal challenges in Finland, where authorities arrested him on allegations of promoting terrorism. To his supporters, Simon Ekpa is a freedom fighter, a voice for the oppressed. To his critics, he is a provocateur whose action risks undermining the movement. Amid this controversy, Simon Ekpa's case caught the attention of Finnish President Alexander Stubb. Alexander Stubb is not your typical politician, known for his openness, intellect, and progressive values. He has always been a champion of human rights. When he listened to the Biafran case and learned about Simon Ekpa's advocacy, he didn't just see the controversies, he saw the humanity behind the struggle. Alexander Stubb's understanding of Biafra's plight comes from Finland's own history. Your war has lasted 10 times longer than ours, he told the Biafrans. These words carried weight because they came from someone who knew what it meant to fight against overwhelming odds. In his statement, Alexander Stubb made it clear that Finland would support Biafra's quest for independence. He didn't mince words. According to his words, "We will support you for as long as it takes. We support you because it is morally right. We support you because you are fighting for your independence. We also support you because you are fighting for your own security." For the Biafrans, these words were more than a political statement. They were a lifeline. To hear a world leader acknowledge their struggle and pledge support was a moment of validation, a sign that their voices were being heard. Finland's support for Biafra is not just symbolic, it carries the potential for real impact. Finland, as a member of the international community, can use its voice in global forums to bring attention to Biafra's cause. This support could take several forms, including diplomatic advocacy, human rights campaigns, and potentially rallying other nations to stand with Biafra. For a region like Biafra, which has often felt ignored or dismissed on the world stage, such backing is monumental. It sends a message to Nigeria's central government and the international community that Biafra's struggle is not an isolated issue, but a matter of justice, freedom, and basic human rights. When Alexander Stubb speaks of supporting Biafra, his words are not hollow. They carry the weight of Finland history, a history shaped by its own battles for survival and sovereignty. The Finnish people know what it is like to face overwhelming odds. They understand the pain of being overshadowed by larger powers, the sacrifices required to preserve their way of life, and the strength it takes to hold on to hope when the future seems bleak. Alexander Stubb's reference to the Winter War is especially poignant. The Finnish fought not just with weapons, but with their ingenuity, unity, and sheer willpower. They endured because they believed in their right to exist as a free and independent people. This belief resonates deeply with the Biafrans, whose struggle is rooted in the same ideals. The parallels between Finland's past and Biafra's present are striking. Both faced larger, more powerful adversaries determined to suppress their aspiration. Both endured unimaginable suffering but refused to surrender their dreams of freedom, and both rely on the strength of their people to keep their hopes alive. For Finland, the Winter War ended with a bittersweet victory. They retained their independence, but at great cost. For Biafra, the fight continues, and the road ahead is uncertain. But the spirit of resilience that sustained Finland through its darkest days is the same spirit that drives Biafra today. One of the most powerful aspects of Alexander Stubb's statement is his emphasis on morality. "We support you because it is morally right," he said. In a world where political and economic interests often overshadow human rights, such a statement is a breath of fresh air. Alexander Stubb's words remind us that the fight for independence is not just about political boundaries or resources. It is about the fundamental rights of a people to determine their destiny. It is about justice, dignity, and the belief that every human being deserves to live in freedom and security. For many people in Biafra, the fight for independence has become a symbol of their identity. Decades after the Civil War, the scars are still visible in the stories passed down through generations, in the persistent economic disparity, and in the feelings of marginalization that many Igbos experience. Movements like the Indigenous People of Biafra (IPOB) and the advocacy of figures like Simon Ekpa have kept the cause alive, but they have also faced significant challenges. The Nigerian government has labeled IPOB a terrorist organization, cracking down on its activities and jailing its leader, nnamdi Kanu. This has made the path to independence even more complicated. Despite these challenges, the dream of Biafra persists. It lives in the heart of millions who believe in the possibility of a better future, one where they can thrive without fear or oppression. Simon Ekpa's role in the Biafran struggle is a subject of debate. To his supporters, he is a courageous voice for a marginalized people. To his detractors, he is a divisive figure whose rhetoric risks escalating tension. Regardless of one's perspective, Simon Ekpa has undeniably brought international attention to Biafra's cause. His arrest by Finnish authorities was a moment of controversy, but it also served to highlight the global dimensions of the struggle. For better or worse, his advocacy has put Biafra back in the spotlight, drawing the attention of leaders like Alexander Stubb. For the people of Biafra, Alexander Stubb's pledge is a glimmer of hope in a long and arduous journey. It is a reminder that their struggle is not forgotten, that they are people and nations willing to stand with them, but it is also a call to action. Alexander Stubb's support is not a solution in itself. It is an invitation for the international community to take notice and for Biafra's advocates to redouble their efforts. It is a reminder that the fight for freedom is not just about military victories or political negotiations. It is about building alliances, telling stories, and keeping the flame of hope alive. What does the future hold for Biafra? That is a question no one can answer with certainty. The path to independence is fraught with challenges, from political resistance to internal divisions within the movement. But as Finland's own history shows, even the most difficult battles can be won with determination, unity, and the support of allies. Alexander Stubbs' pledge is a step in the right direction, a sign that the world is beginning to listen. For Biafra, the journey is far from over, but with voices like Alexander Stubbs lending support, the dream of freedom feels a little closer, a little more attainable. At its core, this story is about more than just Finland and Biafra. It is about the universal fight for freedom, a struggle that has played out in every corner of the globe, from the American Revolution to the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa. History is full of examples of people fighting for the right to self-determination. Biafra's struggle is part of this larger narrative, a testament to the enduring human spirit and the belief that every person, every nation deserves to live in freedom. As we reflect on this story, let us remember that the fight for independence is never easy. It is a journey marked by sacrifices, setbacks, and moments of despair. But it is also a journey of resilience, hope, and the unwavering belief in a better future. For Finland, the Winter War was a defining moment, a testament to the strength of a small nation standing against a giant. For Biafra, the struggle continues, but the spirit of its people remains unbroken. President Alexander Stubbs' pledge is a reminder that even in the darkest time, there are allies willing to stand with those who fight for freedom. It is a call to the world to listen, to care, and to act. And it is a promise that no matter how long the journey, justice and freedom are worth fighting for. This is not just a story of two nations, it is a story of all of us, because when one people fight for their freedom, they remind us all of what it means to be human.
Finland's winter war lasted 105 days. Your war has lasted 10 times longer. We understand what you're going through. We will support you for as long as it takes. We support you because it is morally right. We support you because you're fighting for your independence. But we also support you because you're fighting for Europe's security. We support you because you're fighting for your independence. But we also support you because you're fighting for Europe's security.
And the hatred that led to the Holocaust, of which the Honourable Lady spoke. I'll give way.
I thank the Honourable Member for giving way. On International Human Rights Day, would you agree with me that the violation of the Igbo tribe's human rights needs resolution and the Biafran leader should be released, like my honourable friend for Camberwell and Beckham has recently made representation to?
The Honourable Member clearly speaks with extremely great knowledge about these issues, and I'm sure she'll be raising them with the Foreign Secretary and with the Development Secretary at the appropriate.
Which one? Because I can say that from what I have just listened from you, it is just not ordinary. It is very, very spiritual, because everything touches on whatever I stand for. And today we are fighting for the restoration of Biafra Republic, that has been a republic for 3 years, having war between Nigeria and Biafra. So how do you answer and how do you address the concept of, if you want peace, prepare for war?
Let me tell you, we have just started. We will burn Nigeria down. That is what it requires to protect our people, protect our land. We will burn them down. I want you to understand that if you want peace, you prepare for war. What I've seen for the past 2 years is nothing to write home about. It is not anywhere in the media. Our people have been butchered, head chopped off by the people who are supposed to be protecting those people. The people they call governors in the southeast part of Biafra has become the Jews.
Ojukwu ụzọ Biafra unu asị na agha anụchanya Nnamdi Kanu bịa unu eje kidnap ya from Kenya kịta akọwakwa akụkọ ọzọ n'elu isi Simon Ekpa mana this woman nọ n'elu ebe a Ngozi Orabeze will deal with Nigeria mercilessly.
Okay, as you can see, the voting have commenced right now. Today's date is 24th of November 2024. This voting is going on in Anambra State, Ezianam County, precisely. So the voting is going on now. You can see the people are here. They are tired of Nigeria. They don't want to remain in Nigeria any longer. So they want to flee. They want to be free. They want to see Biafra. So they need Biafra more than anything this time. So they say they are tired of Nigeria. Of we can Nigeria, we will. Nigeria for Biafra. So you can see they say that they need Biafra. Nothing more, not Nigeria.
I'm not a professional freedom fighter and can never be. I am nnamdi Kanu. I am the leader of indigenous people of Biafra all over this planet. I said all over this planet. From Russia to South Africa. From Japan to USA. From Canada to Brazil. It doesn't matter where you are. I lead this very group of people. Exceptionally talented and blessed by the Most High. Indigenous people of Biafra. I command her armies. As I told you, I will command this army from Aba on Saturday. The whole world over, Makadiga Mama. From Aba, I commanded them all over the world. Everything that was ordered was obeyed. There was no ill discipline. Not one, I said all over the world at the same time. There is no finer chain of command than that. Only one place can name you. I know it be so. People are playing with us. They don't know who we are, do they? I am the director of Radio Biafra. Therefore, by the very special grace of heaven, by the special grace of Chukwukika Biama, I will serve you. I will serve my nation. I will be a slave to my nation than to be a slave to a white man or to Awusa Fulani Alamajiri. I will serve you in truth and honesty. I will not lie to you. Why should I? That Chukwu Abiyama may find us worthy in his sight to bless us with Biafra. Why should I lie to you? And I Woshi. What is the problem? Why Biafra will not come? It's inconceivable. Okuya de Nambo. Okuya Buchineke. Okuna de Gabawa. Obineli go Ogoroyana Bunelo Wankanyi. Onye Wuna Chineke. Why won't Biafra come? If Biafra doesn't come, then there is no Chukwukika in heaven. That's the meaning of it. But we know that our Redeemer liveth.
I just found out something astonishing about the origin of Nigeria that shocked the hell out of me. Nigeria was never meant to be a country. It was something else entirely. In this video, I'm going to tell you what I discovered. Oh, and I want to acknowledge Burna Boy for bringing my attention to this in his song Another Story on his album African Giant. Thank you for inspiring this video, and all of you let Burna Boy know that he got to me, and now I'm sharing this information with you. The creation of Nigeria was never about democracy, never about Christianity. It was about money. business and profit. None of it for us. Pay attention. The area now known as Nigeria was called the Slave Coast up to 1870. This was the point at which the British had stopped slave trading and moved on to palm oil as their primary commodity out of Nigeria. One of the main suppliers of palm oil was the Benin Kingdom, and you have to watch my video on one of the greatest African kings most of you have never heard of, Oba. This is an important story for me personally because I'm from that region, so they are my people, and his fight with the British Empire over palm oil is one of the greatest stories of African colonial history. Anyway, everyone wanted palm oil, and especially the British. A man called George Goldie set up the United African Company in 1879, which was then changed to the National African Company. He structured the palm oil business in the Niger Delta region, and by 1884 he had a monopoly that the British could exploit. So in 1886, Goldie violated the agreement he had made with the chiefs and moved his operations into River Niger and Benue. The company was also renamed to Royal Niger Company. Goldie tricked the chiefs into signing unfair trade deals, giving Goldie exclusive rights to export palm oil instead of what the chiefs thought would be free trade. These contracts were written in English, a language we didn't understand, and based on laws that were not our own. This is similar to the land negotiations done with Native Americans in what is now known as the United States of America, where deals were done via contracts in English with laws that had nothing to do with the Native Americans. There was a meeting called the Berlin Conference in 1884 to 1885, set up by Germany's first Chancellor, Otto von Bismarck. This was where colonial powers discussed how to carve up Africa and structure trade across the pieces of our continent they would take. We were not part of these conversations. The best way to think of this is like the NBA draft. Guys were out there making bids between lunch breaks and spa sessions. At this conference, the kingdom of Opobo was given to Britain. When King Jaja of Opobo tried to export his own palm oil, he was accused of obstructing commerce and then exiled. How crazy is that? And on his way home in 1891, he was poisoned with a cup of tea. Guys, I couldn't make this stuff up. The Jaja of Opobo story made other chiefs wary of their deals with the British. King Koko of Nembe Brass was one of them. He tried to take down the Royal Niger Company and attacked the company headquarters in Akassa, Bayelsa on January 29, 1895. King Koko captured 60 white men and lost 40 of his own soldiers. He used the 60 hostages to demand he be allowed free trade, the agreement he believed he had with the British company. They refused and he killed 40 of his hostages. The British Royal Navy retaliated by leveling the city of Brass completely on February 20th, 1895. King Koko went into exile, and the British not only took control of the palm oil he once had, but also fined the people of his kingdom £500, as well as confiscating their weapons. Tragically, King Koko committed suicide in exile in 1898, after being branded an outlaw by the British company that had taken his kingdom, palm oil, and reputation. The Royal Niger Company sold its territory to the British government for £865,000 in the late 1800s. This territory was known as Nigeria. In 1914, the Southern Protectorate and Northern Protectorate was combined by Lord Lugard, and like that, the Royal Niger Company was rebranded as a country which would gain independence on October 1st, 1960. And Lugard is a street in Nigeria that still exists today. The Royal Niger Company changed its name to the Niger Company Limited, and it was then acquired by Unilever. Unilever still operates in Nigeria to this day. And that, my brothers and sisters, is how Nigeria came to be. We have a long way to go to fix the country, but we won't ever have a hope and a solution to our problems if we don't know how they started. What I told you in this video is just a small part of the foundations that led to unrest, civil war, economic instability, and so forth. Remember, it's not about asking anyone else to fix this, or even wasting time blaming those we know caused and perpetuated it. This is about knowing our history. Nigeria was never a country we created. It was a company designed by colonizers for profit, and a lot of the infrastructure put in place for that siphoning of resources out of our land is still very much in place today. Crude oil simply replaced palm oil, and soon lithium may replace crude oil. Honestly, I feel angry, not just for what happened to my ancestors, but for the fact that I wasn't taught about this in school in Nigeria, and that our children are not being taught about these things now. Every Nigerian should know everything about who we are and what we are up against.
This is the end of our news update. Please click the icon on the top right corner of your screen to watch my next video. You will enjoy it. I will see you again in my next update. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye for now.
Ande bayi ekenekwe ni munu edikono si wapụta oge unu igekwa ya bụ ife nnukwu ozi dị oke mkpa eji maka ya wee bịa n'iru akwụkwọ na Igbo Media bụ ebe anyị si wee na-wetara unu ya bụ nnukwu ozi dị oke mkpa gbasịta maka ihe na-eme n'obodo anyị nọ n'ime ya ana gbasịta maka nwere onwe ndị Igbo na-azọ ana gbasịta maka Maazị Nnamdi Kanu ladies dịka ị nụrụ ihe nwanne anyị nwoke kwuru n'iru akwụkwọ ka efi were ikwu n'udo nke gị asị gị kwuo ka efi were ikwu maka na otu aka o jedebe njọ ọ ya adịkwa na mma ọkwụ na ọtụ ụmụnne m achọrọ m ka unu tinyere anyị alụ nke unu ife unu chere n'iru akwụkwọ ikwucha ya bụ ife kapa arụsie ya kwurute ụmụnne anyị ndị ọzọ ntị daalụ dị nne na ụmụnne m bụ ọma na-ege ntị anyị na-ekene ndị nnekunu si na-esoyere anyị